You want
pledge allegiance to the
website?
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Ah,
Well, it was good to hear that again. And
We need Todd's leadership. All of our EHAs were really weak.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so kind of keeping with our Veterans Day theme kind of today, I have a little moment of inspiration. I read a uplifting article about the oldest living Marine and her voting this week in the election. Sergeant Dorothy Dot Cole. She's lived more than a century's worth of historical milestones. She's now 107 years old.
Oh my God.
And she is documented as the oldest living U.S. Marine in the nation.
Wow.
For 2 pandemics.
Right. Dorothy was 7 years old when women were legally permitted to cast their ballots, exactly 100 years ago in 1920. And that's when Warren G. Harding won the presidential election. She's still sharp as a tack, according to her daughter. But Dorothy felt the need and knew the importance of voting in the elections. And so she made it a point to do that. According to her daughter, Dorothy's first recollection of a United States president was Calvin Coolidge, who was elected in 1924. Dorothy has lived through 18 presidents, starting with Woodrow Wilson, who was in office when she was born in 1913. And kids would run after the train and wave the American flags. She was born in Warren, Pennsylvania, was a secretary in the U.S. Marine Corps from 1943 to 1945. And she first enlisted into the military when she was 29 years old. She joined right after the attack on Pearl Harbor. And Dorothy was on the first line of women to join the Marine Corps. She lived through Pearl Harbor, the Great Depression, and the Vietnam War, and was devastated like the rest of the country during the attacks of 9/11. Though she's done all this living, you know, Dorothy dedicated her time to do her civic duty and vote. So I thought that was kind of a neat story.
That is an awesome story.
And she seemed to be a really feisty woman, I tell you, just from the article.
Well,
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
well, my comment was that you keep quoting the daughter. That daughter's probably going to be 90 years old.
That's what I was going to say. Oh my God, what cracks me up is that, you know, the daughter's like saying, yeah, she's feisty. She's got to be, what, 87, 85, something like that. Oh my God.
Yep.
Holy cow. That's amazing. What an amazing story. Thank you.
Okay, let's start out with some happy thoughts. Does anybody have any happy thoughts? I've got one real quick. You know, I was glad to see everybody at the club social that we had, you know, last week, and got a little bit chilly there at the end, but I thought it was still nice, you know.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, for opening your home up for us, and it was a good time.
Yeah, and thank you, Deanna, for organizing that too.
Actually, it was the easy part, but you guys did all the work.
Yeah, and thank Nancy. That was really, really special. She really is wonderful with us, and we're kind of a crazy group, and she was really, really good. And so thank Nancy for us.
Yes, absolutely.
Speak for yourself, Mary Jones. We are not crazy. You are crazy. We are not crazy.
Hey, listen, if you're hanging out with me, all of y'all are certifiable. Just saying.
Obviously, choices are in question there.
That's right. That's right. I have a happy thought.
Okay.
So I'm sorry that you guys are going to have to listen to this forever, like new grandparents talk about their grandbabies. but I got to tell you what I heard from Taylor on Sunday. So some of you may have heard this. I don't know if I told you, but a couple of weeks ago, he told me one thing. And so Sunday, he told me another. So I'm just going to fill you in because Todd, you haven't heard this. So he calls once a week. He's able to call once a week. So I get to talk to him on Sunday. And let me tell you, I walk around with the phone on my hip all day long on Sunday because I never know what time he's going to be able to call. And so he said, Mom, guess what? And I said, what? And he said, so I am going to learn how to survive a gas attack this week. So he's in basic training for basic combat training at Fort Sill. And I just smiled. So last week, he informed me that in December, he's going to learn how to throw a hand grenade. I said, Taylor, you know what? That is something that I've always wanted to hear my child say, is that he's going to learn how to handle a hand grenade. I'm so excited for you. And he said, isn't that cool, Mom? And I'm like, yes, it is. And so I'm mouthing to Dennis, pour me a glass of wine.
So, you need tequila, Mary. You need stronger.
Oh, he's loving it. And you know, when Ryan was in the Air Force and he went into basic training, you didn't hear from him for 7 weeks. That was that. You know, I'm gone. You don't hear from me for 7 weeks. They didn't let him talk to anybody for 7 weeks. That was it. But the Army, I think things have changed maybe a little bit, but the Army has been really good about letting them call home on Sundays. So it was really cool. It's been really fun. So there's my happy thought.
I have two. First of all, yesterday, my second great grandson was born. So I'm now a great grandparent by two. And Blake James is his name. But anyway, that's the first one. The second one is actually related to Todd. I had I had the happy experience of experiencing the professionalism and respectfulness of the several LPD officers this week. Or last week, actually, on Sunday. As I was lifting, I picked up a couple at the Walmart on Ron Grove Road. And as I pulled out of the parking lot onto Oak Bend Street, this Louisville officer pulled up behind me and turned his lights on. And I thought, what did I do? I didn't think I did anything. But I pulled over and rolled down my windows, and I apologize for not getting any names. But anyway, the officer walked up to the passenger side of my car, and I was all prepared to, give him my registration and license. But he didn't even come to my window. He knocked on the window of the passenger side rear seat, and motioned to her to roll the window down. And he said that he had stopped us because the people at Walmart saw this couple get into my car. And so they gave the description, and that's why he stopped. He knew to stop me because this couple had been issued a criminal trespass citation by Walmart. The guy had done some uncouth and unsanitary things in the cart corral inside the store. Apparently, the restroom at the front of the store is closed, where everybody knows there is one, and the one in the back he couldn't get to in time. So. They'd been celebrating his 33rd birthday. And so Anyway, the officers were extremely respectful and acted very professionally, and I was just really impressed with their. So kudos to the Louisville Police Department.
Wow. So you were harboring a criminal.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, it's a good. Oops, sorry. It's a good thing they did it in the cart area and not your cars.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was wondering if he sanitized his car.
Yes, I agree with that.
Never talked to you about not picking up or talking to strangers? Beauty does too?
No, they didn't tell me that.
Bob, please
Yeah.
don't pick up strangers in the parking lot at Walmart, okay? He's
Yeah,
a
tell
Lyft
them to meet you
driver.
down the block.
He works for Lyft.
That's one of the most lucrative areas.
Any
I've
other?
got one.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I'm glad November 3rd is over with, and regardless of the outcome, maybe there'll be less garbage on the TV.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
So I want to add on to that because my happy thought was along the lines of the election as well. I'm just so proud of the American citizens that we turned out in the numbers that we turned out in. And regardless of the outcome, which who knows at this point, right?
Yeah.
At least we had terrific participation for the first time that I can remember. And I'm old, you know, so.
Right.
I think they said it was the largest outcome in 100 years, but still only 66% of the registered voters voting. So that's still not good.
Yeah, but it's better than it
That's
has
amazing.
been. So.
Well, that we know.
Yeah.
And who really knows, right? So, yeah. Oh, awesome.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, okay, so I have one. I'm just so happy that there's coffee. So and even right now, I don't even care about wine. I just am so happy for coffee. And that's my only happy thought right now. I have many happy thoughts. I mean, but coffee is number one right now.
Ray, don't you have a happy thought? Ray?
Oh,
yes, I do.
Ray? All right then.
This is Ray. I was going to give one. As you guys know, probably about a month, maybe a couple months ago, I went through this little challenge, and my wife didn't treat me like I was 2 years old. And now that I'm much better, she treats me like I'm 5 years old. So I still got some growing up to do.
What else? Don't you have something else?
I do. I want you guys to pray for my family, and especially my daughter and her husband. We found out that she's expecting twins. She's going over 3 months pregnant.
Yay!
Wow.
That will be our first set of grandchildren.
Boy, nothing like do it in style.
I have one, and he's starting out with 2. That is so not fair.
Well, my friend told me, he said, Ray, you can't do things right. Everybody else had 1 kid at a time. You come up with 2 all at one time.
Speeding things up. Anything else? Okay, well, let's move on to our guest speaker. We have a great guest speaker today. We have Chris Martin joining us. He's a retired Army colonel with almost 30 years as an Army engineer. He graduated from the United States Military Academy at West Point and served in various locations in the US and Europe. He also has 2 combat tours, one in Iraq and one in Afghanistan. He retired from the Army at the end of 2012 and is currently the president of the Denton County Veterans Coalition. Chris is also one of 5 recipients of the Congressional Veteran Commendation in 2020. So it's our pleasure to welcome Chris. And Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Mark, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to all of you this morning. You know, I retired at the end of 2012, and for 6 years I was just retired, didn't work for anywhere. And so I had a lot of opportunities to go around and talk about veterans and work with veterans programs here in Denton County, and got into the Denton County Veterans Coalition, which we're going to talk about today. But in the last 2 years, I've actually gotten a job, and back on a payroll. So I haven't had the opportunity to speak as much anymore about veterans. And then obviously with COVID, things have slowed down. So it's fun to finally be able to do this again. Mary, one quick point. You talked about your son learning to throw hand grenades. It's always better to learn to throw them than it is to hang on to them. So think about that.
Thank you, Chris.
So think of it as a positive thing here and not a negative. And then I'll tell you a quick story though. My nephew, my son is also an Army officer. He graduated from West Point in 2011, and he's had quite a few tours, 4 to Afghanistan, 1 to Iraq. He's probably getting out of the Army pretty quickly. His wife's had enough of it. He's had enough of it. But some of his tours and time spent in the service was with a Ranger battalion, and they're one of the elite units in the Army. So my nephew decided to join the Army, and he wanted to go infantry. He kind of idolizes my son and some of the things that my son does. And so 2 years ago, he came here and from Georgia, and I helped him enlist with the great recruiters that we have here in Denton. And he went through basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia, which is surprisingly where he's from. But my son and I encouraged him to try to go to the Ranger Battalion. He's kid's 6 foot tall, extremely athletic, worked hard. I mean, is in awesome shape. He could be a dang model or something. Well, basic training comes, and the recruiters come in there and they say, "Hey, who wants to go to Ranger school?" Or go to Ranger Battalion. And my nephew didn't raise his hand, so he caught an ungodly amount of crap from my son for not, going to the Rangers. So he felt guilty, and then a week or two later, recruiters come back and he wants to go to airborne school. Now, in the meantime, though, after finding out that he's not going to Ranger school, their first assignments come down from when they graduate from basic training in AIT, and he gets to go to Hawaii. Like, you lucky kid. Well, again, my son shamed him. So when the recruiters came around, asked him who wants to go to airborne school, he raised his hand, said, "I'll do that." So usually most airborne kids, soldiers, go to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. That's where the airborne is. So nephew goes through base training AIT, then goes to airborne school, graduates from that, learns how to jump out of airplanes, figuring he's going to North Carolina. They come to him with his first assignment. They said, "You're going to Vicenza, Italy." So which is where we have another smaller airborne unit there. So the kid lives a charmed life, and he went to Italy, and then there they run what's called a Ranger pre-selection course to see who can go to Ranger school, which is a pretty challenging training in the Army. And so my nephew decides to go through that, graduates, and one of the top graduates from his unit, and then gets selected from that to come back to Fort Benning, Georgia, and go to Ranger school, which is 63 days of school where you're sleep deprived and food deprived, and you go through some pretty good training. So he's a private first class. Typically, when we send folks to Ranger school, they're lieutenants, captains, sergeants, staff sergeants, things like that. So he's a PFC E3. He goes through and graduates from Ranger school as a PFC, and is back in Italy now, and will probably end up in a Ranger battalion, which is what my son wants. So we're very proud of him and all that he's accomplished there.
Yeah.
So
That's quite an accomplishment.
it's a cool story there. And as we move closer to Veterans Day, if any of you are veterans, thank you for your service. And if any of you are families of, or family members of veterans, thank you also, because without strong families, it's hard to serve in the Army, or the military in any capacity without the strong families supporting you, particularly when you're going on deployments and things like that. And the stress that it puts not only on the family members or on the military member, but also the families is pretty significant when you're going through deployments. And, since 2001, we've had a lot of folks who've had to deploy, and I didn't even count our previous excursions to Vietnam and things like that. So I want to talk this morning about the Denton County Veterans Coalition. We're a very small organization, and in 2013 we became a 501c3. And one of the things that we've always done, well, initially when I joined the Denton County Veterans Coalition, Veterans Coalitions exist to try to find gaps in services and communities for veterans and then find ways to fulfill those gaps. Most veteran coalitions, including ours back then, would go out and try to create a new structure, something, to fill that gap. For instance, in 2014 or 15, we got a grant from the Texas Veterans Coalition for funds that we could help veterans with emergency financial assistance. Now, doing that was extremely difficult because our board right now has only 10 members. We don't have paid people on the board. We don't have paid positions within the organization. All our funds go directly to help veterans or to veterans programs. At any given year, it's at least 90, usually 95 to 98% of our funds go directly to help veterans or veterans programs. So when we got this grant from the Texas Veterans Commission, it's really challenging to do the paperwork and things that are required to meet their requirements. And we just found out that's not a good recipe for us here in Denton County. So we kind of changed the way we do things. And now when we identify veterans gaps or gaps in veterans requirements, our goal is to go out and work with the community, people who are trained in these kinds of things, and take advantage of them and help make them better and help them address the veterans requirements more so than us trying to form up some structure that we're not really able to manage. And we find that we're far more successful doing it that way. We work together with other organizations to get those grants. They have the people that are trained to administer them and the training required to handle not just the administration of it, but whatever the end state of that grant may be. We've been far more successful doing that. And so that's kind of the way we operate, which is significantly different than any other veterans coalition in the North Texas area. And Collin County has one, Tarrant, Dallas County, they all have them. They do things far, far different than the way we do, but we think we're far more successful. And I'll talk about some of the programs that have been started up here in the county as a result of that. I talked about, our board being very small. We have two members on our board who work for the Denton County Veterans Service Office. We've got one of our members works for the Texas Workforce Commission, actually works for the Texas Veterans Commission inside the Texas Workforce Commission to help veterans find jobs in Denton County. We have one of our members works at TWU, the Veteran Service Office there. We represent all services on our board. So, we do a lot of, we have a pretty robust, pretty good board that cuts, across all the dimensions of the service there. Just we have about probably 45,000, maybe 46,000 veterans in Denton County right now. So our numbers are pretty good. The VA thought they were going to grow up to about 50,000 by this time here in 2020, but the growth actually stopped at around 46,000 or so. So we didn't get as many as we thought we would, but we still have the 9th most of any county in the state, which we're the 9th largest county in the state in terms of population. So that makes sense also. Now, one of the programs that we started early on that we're very, very proud of, to me, this is the most important program in the county for veterans, and that's called the Veterans Community Navigators. This program was started with a grant that was obtained by the United Way and the Denton County Behavioral Health Leadership Team. And for a while, I had been the chair of the Denton County Behavioral Leadership Team Veterans Work Group. I'm probably going to step down from that here very soon. The VCN, Veterans Community Navigator Program, is extremely important. And they were located originally at 406 South Carroll at a new Veterans Center that we had stood up a couple of years ago. We've since closed that down during the COVID period here. And I'll explain that further as we go. So the VCNs were initially funded by a grant. They were so successful in their first 3 years that the county then decided that they would fund these positions and put them under the Veteran Service Officer Program. So they work for the VSO here. And if any of you know Paul Bastich, he's our county VSO, and he runs them. That is the gateway to any issues that a veteran might have in the county. If you have a veteran that's having a problem, go to the United Way homepage, go to our Facebook page, find the VCN's number, call them, or even better, they've got a portal where you can go in and put your information for them to reach out to you. And they're very good about responding to veterans who have issues. And I think if you think about, well, why a VCN? You know, why not just go to organizations directly to get funds? Think about a veteran that comes into the office, he says, or calls them up or talks to them on the phone or whatever. And think about peeling back the layers of an onion. So the veteran comes in and says, I lost my job. Okay, so now they've got to help them, you know, link up with folks and get them a job. But you ask the question, why'd you lose your job? Well, I've been drinking. Why have you been drinking? Well, my wife and I have been fighting. Why have you and your wife been fighting? Well, I've got post-traumatic stress. So, you know, you peel back the layers of the onion, it's not just one thing. The one thing you see, not having a job, isn't the cause of what's all the issues. So you've got to be able to peel back the layers of those onions, of the onion there, and get them all the services they need across the spectrum. Take a holistic approach to helping the veteran out. And that's what the VCN program allows us to do. As I said, they've been very successful, and the county has acquired some new buildings, and they're going to move into a new county building now, as well as some of the other support services and other agencies that have been located with them in the past. They're going to move there. So what does the Denton County Veterans Coalition do? Well, we have 3 major programs that we work. First is emergency financial assistance. When a veteran has money issues, you know, a lot of times the VCNs steer them towards us. The second one is ending veteran homelessness in Denton County. I'll talk about that more in a second. And our third is expanding behavioral health care for veterans in the county, particularly to treat post-traumatic stress and other things. So we'll talk first about emergency financial assistance. This is really the main effort of the Denton County Veterans Coalition. 4 or 5 years ago, as I said, when we became a 501c3, you know, it really was our only effort. We've since started doing other things, because that is a recognized gap, not just here in Denton County, but across the state and really across the country, in providing support to veterans, you know, and that's just a significant gap. So we were the one agency that the VCNs could turn to when a veteran had financial issues. We've kept veterans in their homes and prevented them from being evicted. We've helped them get their lights turned on and ACs turned back on in the summer. You know, we paid car insurance bills, you know, and the good thing is that they also get some type of budget counseling when they come in, you know, and they're needing a grant to make sure that that whatever we do is not just a one-time fix. You know, it fixes them for good, so they don't have to come back for us for additional grants. And we've had very few, if any, veterans ever return to us asking for more funds after we've helped them with emergency financial assistance the first time. Probably in the last from about 2016 to 2019, we probably helped about 160 veterans in the county with over $150,000. And all that money, other than some grant money that we had early on and some smaller grants here and there, most of that money is just from donations from, you know, people out there on the street who just want to help out veterans. And, you know, if you want to help a veteran out, it's always nice to walk up and shake their hand and say, hey, thank you for your service. But a better way is to find a cause, a veterans group that you appreciate and trust and can count on, and donate with them, because all veterans groups are looking for different types of funding like that. Now, you would think here with all the COVID stuff in 2020 that we would have had to help a significant number of veterans, and surprisingly, we have not. Doesn't mean there aren't veterans that are having issues. On a given day, the Veterans Community Navigators, the VCNs, will talk to 10, 12, or 13 veterans who are having significant issues right now caused by COVID, whether they've lost their job or, you know, they've been living off of unemployment and it's about to run out, things like that. But fortunately, there are organizations within the county that have received COVID-19 funding. And then just last probably fall, a year ago, the United Way submitted for and received a very significant grant that allows them to help veterans who are having emergency financial assistance or issues also. So right now, the VCNs are able to steer veterans towards these other organizations. Now, that money's going to run out here eventually. You know, the grant money, because the United Way has got a pretty significant burn rate on the funds that they have. So we're expecting that probably here, once these funds start to draw out, that there's not just a tidal wave, but we expect a tsunami wave of requirements coming our way, when the COVID-19 funds dry up here eventually. So we're trying to bring in as much funds as we can and just trying to make sure we're prepared for that when it does happen. But I think we're pretty well prepared for it, and we're pretty proud of that program. Like I said, we've helped quite a few vets over the years. The second program I want to talk about, I mentioned, is veteran homelessness. When we started this effort about 3 or 4 years ago, there were probably about 70 homeless veterans in Denton County. And every year we have what's called a homeless veteran stand down. And that's an event we take one day. We always did it in October, where the VA comes in. We co-sponsor the event with them. United Way is a participant. And we bring all the veterans in, and the VA would have, things that they would give them to help make them more comfortable on the street. Other folks would do the same thing. They get haircuts, we'd make them a meal, things like that, and then we'd send them on their merry way. Well, that's what we did the first year, 6 years ago. We recognized then that we've got to do more. We've got to find a way, not just to bring them in and make them comfortable on the street, but try to find ways to help them get off the street. So 3 years ago, some of the organizations had worked with these homeless vets, others had not. So we started up a veteran homeless meeting about once a month, and we started to try to develop systems and programs to help them get off the street. That kind of fed into an ongoing effort that the United Way started with the Denton County Homeless Leadership Team. And so they started piggybacking off of us. And then eventually they absorbed that program into what they were doing. So now you have pretty good intense management of not only homeless veterans, but all homeless folks in Denton County. You have systems now where they can enter them into the system so that all the agencies can see these individuals and help them out. So our numbers of homeless veterans over the last 4 years has now gone down to about, if I remember right, 20 something, 25, somewhere around in there, which is still 25 too many, but we've made significant gains here in the county. And the issue for quite some time was finding a place to put them in. Homeless veterans are usually, and just like all homeless folks, they're usually second or third. They got a couple of strikes against them from living in housing before. And so it's hard sometimes to find them housing, but the Denton County Homeless Leadership Team has done a great job of getting landlords to come on board and, to give these veterans a second opportunity here. And so they've been able to reduce the numbers very, very good. So 2020, well, I talked about our stand down. We always have it in October. Well, the VA decided this year, and they do these things in Dallas and Fort Worth too, but they decided this year that they weren't going to do a homeless stand down. We weren't happy with that, and we understood. I mean, it's the right decision, but we didn't think that was the answer for us. So we have created a mobile stand down, and we're doing it actually this Friday and Saturday. We've gotten the backpacks that we normally give out. We've gotten comfort items like socks and beanie hats and gloves and things like that, and loaded the backpacks up. We got some small gift cards to give the veterans. Some other organizations are providing some things. So this Friday, we're going to Our Daily Bread and the Salvation Army in Denton. And then on Saturday, we're going to the Salvation Army in Louisville to distribute these things to our homeless veterans there. So, and we don't want them to think that they're forgotten, and we don't want to lose contact with them. So this gives us a chance to make sure that they are registered inside the system, so that we do have a case manager assigned to them from one of the agencies that does that. So we're continuing that tradition this year. It's just going to be a little bit different looking than it has been in the past. And we're pretty proud of the VA. Actually, they thought that was a great idea, and they're pretty proud of what we're doing too. And they're working with us on it also. The third program, the third major focus area for us is increasing behavioral health care in the county for veterans who have post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injuries, and things like that, or female veterans who've suffer from military sexual trauma. Well, I don't know if you know, but the VA is big hospitals in Dallas, huge hospital, Lancaster, hard to get there. Used to be hard to park, not so difficult now, but you wait, you go for a 9 o'clock appointment, you might get in there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, it's an all day affair to go there. And a lot of veterans with post-traumatic stress did not like to drive to Dallas, for the treatment. In Denton, we have what's called a CBOC, a community-based outreach center. That's a medical clinic for veterans. It's a contracted facility by the VA, and they treat veterans there. And they had, at the time, 5-6 years ago, they had one RN who could work with veterans with post-traumatic stress. And that wasn't really acceptable for the amount of veterans that they have. At any given time, and different New Years are getting different numbers, but the CBOC treats about 10,000 veterans. The VA's math says that probably 10% or more need treatment for post-traumatic stress. I think it's more in Denton County because in a lot of respects, we have a much younger population of veterans because of the two universities. They draw a lot of veterans in, young kids who were in the service for 4 or 5 years, probably did a couple of combat tours and then got out. So our numbers were probably a little bit higher. Less than 700 were actually receiving treatment in Dallas, though, or at the CBOC. So we knew we had a significant gap there. And we worked with Congressman Burgess's office and the VA. And finally, after several years, we were able to get an expansion of VA treatment facilities here in Denton. And they're located on South Carroll also. And I think we have 3 docks in there at any one time. And so that just opened up, I think about a year ago now. So we had about a 300% growth, maybe more, in our ability from the VA to treat post-traumatic stress. Now under COVID-19, it's been a little bit more of a challenge for them. So they have significantly expanded their med care, where vets can go in there. And even the VA is an even better program. They now give veterans like iPads or some type of tablet they can take home and do face-to-face with their doctor, over the iPad or tablet. So, and they kind of run that out of this new VA facility. And Congressman Burgess worked with that to convince the VA to do that. But we're pretty proud of that because that has been a significant growth, in our ability to help veterans with post-traumatic stress here in the county. A lot of veterans, though, aren't registered for the VA healthcare system. Have chosen not to when they got out. A lot of kids get out of the Army and all they want to do when they get out is just leave, so they don't really document all the things that may be wrong with them, or they just don't want the VA to help them with their post-traumatic stress or behavioral health care. So, we've also worked with different practitioners in the county who will do that, reduce costs and help veterans out. And both universities have some pretty good programs that work with veterans with post-traumatic stress too. So we've done a very good job, we think, of expanding the care that's available now in the county for veterans with post-traumatic stress. And that's the 3 things I like to talk about. We do other smaller programs, but they're all complementary to what we have. Like one of our board members is trying to start a homeless vet mentoring program now, and we think that'd be a good idea. And so we've got a veteran that he's working with who used to be homeless, still works with the homeless veterans quite a bit at Salvation Army and some of the other places. And so the 2 of them are putting together a mentoring program, and they're partnering with another agency in Denton. And we hope to get that online here soon, but we think that'll be complementary to what we're trying to do to help our veterans get off the street. And so that has covered all the things that I had on my list here, and I'm open for any questions.
So Chris, what you kind of see as your most immediate need that your organization needs in terms of help?
I mean, money obviously is the #1 answer any nonprofit's going to give you, because we do think that we have that tsunami wave of veterans that are going to require assistance when the COVID-19 funds start to dry out. So that's probably our most immediate need. And then one of the programs that we need to start up that we haven't done good with, or as good as we'd like, is street outreach for veterans. And we need to work. We had a pretty good process going for a while, but then one of the agencies that did that really has kind of changed their focus area. So we need to reinvigorate that program, working with both Louisville and Denton police. The police stations have, the police officers have the best idea of where homeless veterans are, more so than anybody else. So that's probably another program that we need to get started here pretty soon. but I would say, you know, funding that allows us to do some of these programs is probably our most immediate need. Yeah. Another thing that we don't do a good job of in the coalition is the technology side of things. We have a pretty good Facebook page. We finally found somebody that could man that for us, but our website is atrocious. It's embarrassing. And so we're looking for someone who can set up and it's not a lot once you get the website set up, but just kind of keep it updated and things for us. So, you know, if you know anybody out there that's maybe a veteran or doesn't have to be, but you know, wants to do something like that in their spare time, we'd be happy to take, you know, that on and try that.
I actually did put Ray in touch with John Picorni. He has a business and he does that. So I think the two of them are going to work together.
Yeah, Raymond mentioned it to me, and I appreciate that, Mary. And just, you know, Raymond's a great individual. Raymond is not a veteran, but he's hugely engaged in what we do. He's one of our board members. He's been engaged with us for about 4 years now. He has a son and a son-in-law who are both in the military in different services. And, you know, seeing some of the things, how their deployments affected them and their families has driven Raymond to become more involved in the veterans community. And he's doing this one in the hopes of being able to relate to them better, but also because he just has a big heart, you know, really works hard to help veterans out.
So I have a comment for you.
Nah.
My oldest son was in the Air Force during Enduring Freedom. So he joined right after high school. He was in JROTC, went into the military after high school, and then we went to war. And so he came back, was a reservist, went and did a tour in Afghanistan. I sent a boy that I knew for my whole life and got back somebody completely different.
Yep.
I did not understand what PTSD was until I saw it personally. And it is a real affliction. You can't, and I did have an opportunity to talk with him on the phone while he was in Afghanistan. And they were shelled every day, every single day. And at that moment, he was shelled so badly that they threw an alarm and he had to get off the phone, and they did what they did. And of course, I panicked and called his dad, and, you know, like, what can we do? We can't, you know, run over there and bring him home, right? So when he came home, he slept on the floor. That's the only place he felt safe. He had heart issues. He had physical knee issues. His wife filed for divorce while he was in Afghanistan. So we had nothing, is what I'm getting at. I had no idea what I was dealing with. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know who to call about that. So this program is a phenomenal. I mean, I had no idea who to call for an attorney to help him with a divorce, custody of his, you know, under 1-year-old child. I had no idea what to do or where to go. So if I had had this program, at least I would have been given some direction of which way to go and how to handle some of these things. So all we could do is let him live with us, watch him sleep on the floor, and watch him transition back into the young man that I know today, who is, you know, very happy and way, way better, but does have some physical issues. And I did have the opportunity to take him to the Veterans Administration Hospital downtown. And it's a beautiful building, huge parking lot, but you're absolutely right. You sit there all day long. So,
you know, the key is, if you know someone with post-traumatic stress, is to not give up.
Yeah.
You know, because the consequences of giving up are terrible. When I came back, when I went to Iraq, it was 2004. I had a battalion of 400 soldiers that I led over there. And it was what we call in the military, very kinetic, you know, a lot of shooting, a lot of bad things. And within a couple of weeks of coming back, I had one soldier commit suicide. And then here about 3 years ago, had several others who since out of the military who have committed suicide because the post-traumatic stress for them was overwhelming and they couldn't get the care that they needed. So don't give up, you know. And the key, and also you got to recognize it doesn't just affect the military member. We over time, you see that also manifesting itself inside the family structure. You know, the spouses, especially when these kids who've had, you know, 4 and 5 tours, you start to see that in their family, the way even those families that have stayed together, you know, the spouse and the kids also show some of the same characteristics of post-traumatic stress. So it's important that we keep our eye on it and just continue to do things.
Well, Chris, maybe one more question, and I think maybe Terry, do you have a question?
I got a question.
I do. Actually, Chris, I've got 3 questions, so I apologize. I'll get through them really quick. One is, are you already plugged in with Donna at Defenders of Freedom? You know who they are?
I do not know who they are.
All right. Well, how about Carry the Load?
Yes.
All right. And third question is, what's your email address?
C2W2Martin@gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, I think, you know, in Denton County, we have some pretty good programs. And I've been through a few seminars several years ago where they'd have, you know, groups of different counties or agencies, and they talk about the great things that they did in their county for veterans, and some of them for as far away North Carolina. But all of them really had one strong program, like, oh, yeah, we help homeless veterans. We've done a great job here, you know, or yeah, we've done this and this. But I think Denton County is one of the few places where we've been able to, like I said, take that holistic approach to resolving veterans issues. And you know, we have folks here, our VCNs, who should be sitting on seminars in other places in other states or counties, you know, talking about the great programs that we have. And I always like to end all my talks with when I talk about veterans programs here in Denton. It's great to be a veteran in Denton County, and it is, because we do have leaders and people who care, you know, and we started these programs and they're sustained themselves and they've proven their value, and we've helped a lot of veterans. And you know, that's all we want to do is help veterans. And we like I said, we don't do that in the DCVC. We help others who have the training, who have the skill sets, you know, to work with veterans. We have the ability to manage grants. We help them to do that and make them more successful.
Yeah, I was just going to make one more quick comment. You know, you spoke earlier about the 8th or 9th largest veteran county in the state. It's interesting that that number is so high, considering there's no large military installations in Denton County.
Right. Yeah. I usually bring that up too when I talk. Yeah, it is very strange.
Yeah, North Texas is a huge military support community, if you will. So I'm gonna reach out to you on email. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So Chris, we're out of time, but we really appreciate you coming. And just to let you know, Mary's kind of spearheading a sock drive, a glove and sock drive, that we're putting boxes out in some locations around town. And so we'll be collecting some of that for your organization.
Well, that'd be great. I mean, like I said, we want to help these, especially the homeless veterans, but there may be others who are high the moon.
Yeah.
So gives the opportunity to help others also.
Yeah. And just to let you know, Marilyn was holding up a book there. One thing we do is for all of our speakers, we donate a book in your name to our local elementary school that's here that we've adopted. And so we'll sign that in your name and donate that book to the school.
So that's great. Thank you.
Hey, Chris, you said that you have a social media page. Y'all have a social media page that we can tag?
We have a Facebook page, yes. Denton County Veterans Coalition.
All right, thank you.
So thank you again, Chris, for joining.
Thank y'all. Have a great day.
You bet.
Thank you for your service and for that of your son and your nephew and everybody else. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I love being in the military, and I love working with veterans.
Yeah, I love being in the military too.
Okay, moving on real quick. I have quite a few announcements to go through. Bob, I know we normally do a city update about this time, but are we okay if we do that next week? and give you a little bit more time? Okay. And then Rotary Foundation moment. John, are you okay if we skip the video, but I'll make the announcement on the matching points? And then we can do the video next time.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
So just to let everybody know that November 1st through January 31st, our district 5790 is going to match any contributions made to the annual fund for this contribution year on a one-to-one basis. So anything that you donate, $250 up to $500, they're going to match funds on. So if anybody's interested in giving to the annual fund for Rotary, they'll match your contribution up through January 31st. And that goes towards your Paul Harris Fellow, of course. Okay.
Mark, just a quick add on to that. If you've got any questions about where you are with your recognition points, send me email. I have those records, and then I can also send you the calculation of what kind of donation you might want to consider in order to get to the next level.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we got some announcements here. Don't forget our Wine and Dine event is coming up this Friday. So if you haven't signed up and you want to, there's limited time left. Tom, do you want to mention anything about that?
Well, you're right about the limited time, but it's not too late. We can get wine to you today or tomorrow, and the recipes are easily emailed. Mark, I got 2 more registrations overnight, so we're doing very well.
Okay, great. And that's gonna be a fun event. So I think it'll be something different and interesting for sure. We have the CCA food pantry that we're working this Saturday, and we still need 2 volunteers. So if anybody's interested, go ahead and feel free to sign up. I can send out the link again just to make sure everybody has that. We also have a Veterans Day ceremony that's coming up next week on Veterans Day. And, Frank Heeb is helping kind of organize that along with Mary as well. It's going to be out at Pinewood Hills at his retirement community. And so there's a lot of veterans there. And we're going to have a brief ceremony where we just kind of honor the veterans and talk a little bit about the flag. And then they're going to raise the ROTC group from, I believe, Flower Mound High School. Is that right, Mary?
Yeah. What time, Mark?
It's going to be at 2 o'clock on November 11th, which is Wednesday. So if any of the members want to come out and join that ceremony, that'd be great.
And be outside.
Yes, it's going to be outside. All the residents will be socially distanced. It's going to be a brief ceremony. So it should be a good ceremony. Anything else to add on that, Mary?
No, the Flower Mound JROTC is going to represent the color guard, and they're going to raise the flag for them. And we're just going to, really, it's an opportunity to acknowledge the veterans that are in Frank's retirement center community, and to thank them for their service and to acknowledge Veterans Day for them.
Great. So come on out if you can. Also, as we mentioned just a minute ago, there's a sock drive that's going on that Mary's also doing. And so there'll be some boxes that'll be put around town that will leave out until the end of the month. Anything you want to mention on that, Mary?
We were really lucky that Jim said that he would have boxes at all 3 of his restaurants. So even though the event that DCVC is having is, upcoming, we are going to just go ahead and run it through the holidays. Jim said that he would offer chips and salsa to anyone who brings in some socks, which is a good thing for him because chips and salsa usually means beer, and that's his biggest profit center, right? So it's a good thing for him. It's a good thing for our vets. So, you know, my feeling is that, you know, some of these guys, as sad as that might sound, don't want to be saved, don't want to be in homes. They like living on the streets. So my feeling is if they're going to live on the streets, I want to make sure they're as comfortable as they can be. And so that's the socks. You know, they need them in the winter to keep warm. They need them in the summer. So they need socks. And that was the easy thing for me to jump on. And it's pretty inexpensive. Walmart, Target, you know, Costco. So I have to mention that everybody who came to our social event over at Mark's house brought a package of socks. I'm so excited. So I called Ray that night when I got home and said, I have a bunch of socks for you. So he came over Saturday morning and picked them up, and he's adding those to the group. So I was really excited. So
And we put them in the backpacks that we're distributing tomorrow.
yay! All right, great. So there you go. Little help. Thank you guys. Thanks to everybody for doing that. I appreciate it.
One more tag on to Mary. Mary, I believe you're putting a box at Quick Car, right?
I had not double checked with Ray,
Ray
You
said
got
he
it.
would. He told me he would.
but I was,
Hey,
I was
Mary,
gonna
you
do
got
that
it.
probably.
Remember, you got that also.
Okay.
I got
awesome.
about five. I got about 5 additional backpacks that came in late. That has, you know, non-perishable food, cans, sanitizers. They came in this week. So if it's okay with John and Mary, you can have those too. It's,
Absolutely.
I'll take them. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great, Ray.
Now, Ray probably isn't going to give you chips and salsa, and you probably won't be able to buy it. But bring your
Barbecue,
socks.
you get barbecue at Ray's
But
place.
he'll give you a discount on an oil change, which you probably need.
Cool. Thank you, Ray. I'll bring it over this morning then.
Sounds good.
So the,
And
oh, go ahead, Ray.
okay, Mary, I'll talk to you about that a little later on how we can coordinate to get the maximum contribution or participation.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mary, I still have empty backpack that could be filled. Do you want them?
I'll take them. I'll take them.
Okay.
I'll
Where are you today?
Well, I'm gonna be driving today, so, you know, I'm out in my car. You just tell me where to meet you and I'll be there, or we can, you know, coordinate. We'll coordinate.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so next on my list here is the holiday stroll. So, you know, typically we do the breakfast with Santa in December and coordinate that with City of Louisville on their holiday stroll. Well, of course, this year is different, and the Maine and Mill Association is actually driving the holiday stroll this year, and they are planning to do some activities and have some events down in Old Town for holiday stroll, and the city's kind of given them approval to start planning that, and we will participate as well, but we won't probably be doing a breakfast with Santa event. Instead, what we've kind of talked about is doing a Christmas bag giveaway. So we can be down there in Old Town, and as a community service project, we can give away bags of Christmas cookies that have some other items in the bag, as well as a card, you know, with some inspirational thoughts or holiday wishes, whatever we want to put on those cards. And so, you know, we're thinking about, you know, maybe giving away 200 or so bags downtown, and just kind of spread some cheer and some goodwill in the community this year. And so that's kind of what we're looking at doing, and we're kind of finding out on Friday from Heather and the city if that's going to be, you know, a go on their events and stuff. because they're in the process of signing a contract. So that's to let everybody know that's coming up. We need to start, thinking and then getting organized around that. And so, if somebody wants to be a chairperson on that, just to help, get us organized on the bag giveaways, let me know, because we can definitely do that. Any questions on that? And that event will be December 5th, by the way. Next item, if you remember, we started working with the city of Louisville and Parks and Recreation about doing a tree planting. Well, guess what? They're going to be planting the trees this week, starting later this afternoon and tomorrow. So if anybody wants to go by and look, I was going to go by and just take some pictures. They're actually going to try to put the trees in the ground, and they'll have they're working on a sign for us. So once we get the sign ready, we can have a dedication ceremony, and maybe we can work, invite a couple of people out from the city and maybe from Keep Louisville Beautiful to come out, and we do a little dedication ceremony. And where our trees.
Where's the location?
Yeah, it's on Garden Ridge, and they put in the new Garden Ridge path. Well, our trees will be right at the intersection where the Garden Ridge Trail meets this other trail at the front of LL Woods Park. So we're right there at the entrance to the park, and where the two trails meet.
Okay.
So right there, about halfway down on Garden Ridge. So
That's over near the dog park, right? Is that over in that area?
No, that's further down in Flower Mound.
Okay. Oh,
I think not too far from Valley Parkway. It'll be south of Valley Parkway on Garden Ridge. So there's that strip center. There's a Primrose there and a senior living center there, I think.
Okay. Got it.
So if you want to drive by and take a look, I'm going to try to take pictures today if they're out there, and of them planting the trees in the ground. And then we'll organize a little dedication ceremony coming up. And I think if I remember right, Arbor Day is coming up November 9th. So.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, so maybe we can try to do something around that. But
yeah.
It depends on when the sign will be ready on that. The only other thing I had on my list here was household hazardous waste. Tom and Mary have been kind of spearheading that. They've had one with the reduced appointment times and everything for household hazardous waste. They only really need the one volunteer, for each of the appointment times. And Mary and Tom have been doing that. But if somebody else wants to get involved, I know Mary can't do it in December. I think you were saying, right, Mary?
Right. Yeah.
So we could probably use another member to help during the December timeframe with that. So let us know if anybody wants to get trained on that.
It's Wednesday and Friday, and they still have the one Saturday a month, but remember, it's all scheduled, and it's only from like 8:30 in the morning until 11 o'clock in the morning. So it's real short. It's scheduled. You'll learn how to dispose of oil and gasoline. Get your hands dirty. Fun.
I learned how to hide the dead bodies too, Mary. Did you not get that lesson?
I had to put the dead bodies away afterward, but I did learn how to tape the big batteries and move those around and stuff. It's, you get really more involved in it than we normally did, just unloading the cars, and that's pretty cool. So,
just so you know, the city is very selective of their superheroes. Spent some time, if you haven't read the newsletter yet, but I spent some time talking to, was it Dara? No, what's the guy's name? Mark.
You talked to Tim yesterday. Tim.
Yeah, Tim. Yeah. So they're very selective. You got to be able to lift the TV. And they don't want to have to train people. So, anybody that wants to do this, you have to be strong and you have to be trainable. Mm-hmm. So, and if you want to do it in December, you probably need to contact them about getting trained.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one of
Yeah.
the things I would add to that, because John's exactly right, is that, Todd had helped them send out a survey about those of us who had availability. And part of the reason that Mary and I were selected is because we were the only two who indicated that we could volunteer both Wednesdays and Fridays. So that's part of the issue as well.
Tom goes one week and I go the next week. That's how we've been doing it.
Yeah.
I can't lift a TV, so I'm just, that's why I'm not just jumping in there. I like doing the hazardous waste, but I can't lift like that, so.
Okay, well, I don't lift the TV either. Tim usually does that. So, you know.
I might have missed this. Is it every week? Tom and Mary?
Yeah, it is.
Every week, Wednesday and Friday?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I'll think about it. If I don't have to lift like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kelly, I see you have your hand raised there. Did you have something?
No, that was during the veterans thing, but I'm going to contact him directly.
Oh, okay. We can stay online in for a few minutes when we end the meeting if you wanted to, if Chris is available.
I just want to say thank you to Chris, and I would love it if you came back and joined us for future meetings. I mean, we meet the first 3 Thursdays at this time at 7 a.m. So if you're a morning person, it'd be great if you came back to join us.
Anytime, just let me know when.
Okay. Well, does anybody have anything else they want to bring up or mention or ask about? If not, then we'll end the meeting with our 4-way test. Does anybody want to lead us in that?
Let's make Todd do it. Todd
I'm happy
will do it.
to lead us in the 4-way test. So everybody make sure you unmute your self, because I don't want to just be the only one speaking. That's embarrassing. So I'll give you just a few minutes to unmute. And if y'all will unmute and join me in the 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First,
Is it the truth?
second, is it
fair to all concerned?
Third,
Will build goodwill and better friendships.
Fourth, will be beneficial
to all concerned.
Beneficial to all concerned.
And fifth,
Make it
fun.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Good job,
Thank
Todd.
you.
Have a good weekend.
You too. And